So usually the most important and best team gets to go first or last. But in this case, we cordially decided to go second.
Second is the best.
Second is now the best. So my job this morning is really just to tee it up for Laura and Mike to talk about site and retail development and what we got accomplished and how that process worked. So Brooksy Carlton, Brooksy's right here, was our lead facilitator. I am Toksa Meshakin with the Tennessee Department of Transportation. I was the lead for this committee. And our lead stakeholder was Mayor Denny Johnson. Mayor, if you could stand.
Oh, he's not here.
Oh, he's not here? Okay, I thought I saw him in the back somewhere. Okay. But I do want the members, the rest of the members that are listed on here, several members, I do want them to stand. I've seen several members of this committee here. Wow, we're here representing today. Give them a hand, please. So, very quickly, this team, the team members that you just saw get up, they came from a very diverse background, and I was very impressed with some of the work that they've done in the past and what they brought forward to the table. In particular, I was on a team with Brian, and he was sharing some ideas with me that I'd never heard of related to how IT hubs can get started in rural communities. And you will hear a little bit more about that later. But two things, these next two bullets. After the first meeting, we did three things. We identified important issues. We completed a survey of the committee and decided what areas we were going to prioritize and focus on. That was after the first meeting. After the second meeting, we split into three groups and developed areas of action steps. Some were big and ambitious, and some were small. We kept in mind the fact that there's only 2.5 years left in this particular administration, and we wanted to make sure that we had some low-hanging fruit things to latch onto to try to get done. But at the same time, that didn't stop us from being ambitious and big with some of the ideas that we wanted to propose to move forward on. And finally here, the main areas of focus for us, keep these in mind, we're developing community capacity for retail development, coalescing resources for retail development, providing funding for site development. Funding is always a key issue. Coalescing resources for site development. And again, I mentioned already developing rural technology hubs. Again, it almost sounds like something in my mind when I first heard about this that couldn't possibly happen, but I was sold after working with Brian on this committee. So that's it. That's how we got our work done. That's the setup. And now I'm going to hand over to Laura to run through some of the things that we actually proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Tokes, for that introduction. Really honored to be serving on this committee and to be here with you guys this morning, rather. So the first action item is to expand Retail Academy. The problem that we identified is that there is a lack of knowledge and really resources in general in rural communities in Tennessee on the retail recruitment process. So a little bit about the background on Retail Academy. What is Retail Academy? It's under the umbrella of Retail Strategies, which is the organization that I work for. It was the first pilot program was held in West Tennessee in Jackson under Mike's organization, WTIA, West Tennessee Industrial Association. Had different participating partners, the development districts, the state, of course, USDA, and the communities came together. There was 13 communities that participated, and they learned about the retail recruitment process from different industry professionals. So anything from overarching retail trends to how to make yourself more attractive to retailers and developers, how to be competitive, what are incentives, what's the basic retail lingo, so how do I speak the retail language. They learned about all of this from different industry professionals. They also received a line of deliverables, really. They got a list of potential retail prospects that would work in their communities without cannibalizing what they already have. They got a lot of data, a lot of fun data, a big book full of data, also in electronic form, and they got a retail leakage report, amongst many other reports, and a marketing piece that they could use to, in a concise manner, to deliver their pitch to retailers and developers. And they also got a membership to ICSC, which is International Council of Shopping Centers. So they all came together with those deliverables to the workshop, which we call Retail Academy, and learned what these deliverables are, not just here's a bunch of data to sit on your shelf, but rather here's what it is, what you do with it, and how you implement it. And they also received benchmarks, quarterly benchmarks that they have to meet throughout the year to make sure they're actually being proactive and doing something with the information. So the program got rave reviews, and our committee believes it would be wonderful if we could expand it statewide. So the objective here is to educate and equip rural communities throughout Tennessee with the tools and knowledge necessary to strengthen their retail base, yielding a higher local sales tax collection and increased overall quality of life. Just as an example of ROI, if one rural community got one fast food restaurant, they do on average between $1 and $2 million a year in annual sales. So that yields a worst case scenario, $27,000 in sales tax collection. That's not including property tax and the other benefits of that. So it really is a strong source of economic development for these rural communities. So the scope here is community preparedness, marketing and promotion of rural communities. And the action owner is Retail Strategies. That's me, with the support from Tennessee ECD, USDA, and the development districts. So our metrics here are to reach at least one city in every distressed and at-risk county across the state, so Tier 4 and Tier 3 communities. The resources, we've got partnerships with Retail Strategies, the development districts, we've mentioned that already. The milestones here are we are pursuing approximately $300,000 in funding this summer of 2016. We think it's important for each community to have skin in the game in order to feel, I guess, motivated to actually do something with the information and put it into practice. But we do believe that the distressed communities do need a little extra help in funding because they don't have a plethora of money or that money tree out back that some of us wish that we had. So that's the purpose of that. And then also to follow up with each participating community quarterly throughout the next year to make sure they're staying on track. So our second action item is the Retail Development Toolkit. The problem here is there's just not a good go-to place for information on retail development, and communities have traditionally waited on the retailers to come to them, and communities need assistance with retail recruitment and retention, data, opportunities to collaborate, and just access the research. So there's little competition in retail recruitment when a business is looking to locate. Unlike industrial, retailers will locate several retailers even in one market. So there's really a good opportunity for communities to collaborate together and focus as opposed to seeing each other as competitors. Hey, let's all come together and see it as the pie gets bigger, not smaller. So there are disparate training opportunities for retail recruitment, but there are resources available. So for those other communities that may not be participating in Retail Academy, or even those who are, it's just a good central location for them to be able to come to the website and get all of those resources that they could possibly need. And it would also, on the flip side, be good for retailers who are looking to locate in the state of Tennessee to be able to pop on the website and see what's available. So the objective is to provide a place for Tennessee communities to access all of the existing resources available in downtown revitalization and retail recruitment and retention. The scope is comprehensive online resource. The action owner is TECD with the advisory committee of resource partners, local partners, and retail partners. So the metrics here are the number of site visits and downloads. We'll be able to measure that. The resources are the maintenance and updating of the website. We'll need somebody to cover that. Management of the advisory committee and website development. So we would like to create an advisory committee this fall, 2016, compile existing resources and best practices. website design, development, and testing, winter and spring 2016 to 2017, marketing of site and features, and quarterly updates, which will be ongoing. So I'm going to pass it off to Mike to talk about the next 2 action items.
Well, good morning. Thank you for your time. Appreciate the governor, commissioners, all of you for this process and this ability to articulate, to define and articulate some economic development initiatives that need to take place. I want to also very quickly thank Brooksy for her help in coordinating, getting the information, getting all this together. As you saw from our list of committee participants and those that stood up, they're just chicken. They wouldn't come up here. But there are a lot of input from a lot of sources. And that's what makes this information so valuable. Economic development is definitely a team sport. I can't be out of time. Okay. Economic development is definitely a team sport. And as you can see by this process. So again, I also want to very quickly say, without getting into the retail portion too much, thank you to Laura for a great deliverable, for doing everything that Retail Strategy said that they would do. I think most importantly, thank you to the state. We took this concept to Amy and to the commissioner. They jumped on board. Bobby Good with USDA was right there, and his staff. The development districts, I'd be remiss not thanking Southwest, Northwest for getting this done. Everyone came together to make this happen. 13 communities participated as was stated, and I think good things are in store. In a similar fashion, we're also focusing on site development. Economic development, as I said, is a team sport. There's so many components to it. There's so many moving pieces, and it's easy to get caught up in the marketing, the recruiting, the getting the new companies in, and all that's, I guess that's the fun part, the ribbon cuttings, the seeing the new hires come in, that sort of thing. But what's really happening the day-to-day is the grunt work, the work that goes on in the communities and helping these communities to be prepared to compete. And so site development, along with workforce, along with education, along with all the components of economic development, is very critical. And so as we look at that, we realize that there's work to be done. There's a lot of great things that have happened, but there's still work to be done. As stated, let me see where I am on here. Okay, relative to community development and to new mayors, new elected officials, new chamber directors, economic development people come in. They don't always understand the pilot process, all the acronyms of economic development. And so having a focal point and articulation of all those programs, how they work, when they need to work, is so important. So we saw that as something that our committee thinks that it would make it easier for rural communities to get that information if, for lack of a better word, in a repository and to have that articulated. We want to help them to be more prepared. Rural communities can compete. The population outside of Shelby County and the other 20 counties of West Tennessee is about 550,000 people. So we know we're small. But let me tell you, those rural communities compete, and I see it all the way across the state. So they have to work smarter, a little bit harder, to be able to tell their story and to be prepared when they get that golden opportunity, when the project comes from state, from TVA, from us, et cetera. So giving them this basic site development toolkit, it'll help the mayors, the economic development teams in each community. It doesn't fall on just one individual in the community. So it's so important that we continue with that process. The metrics of it, and that's what I've liked about this process, is it's forced us to articulate the action steps, what's going to be done, who's going to do it, and it's just so critical in really having tangible results. So an inventory of those incentives, the checklist, the toolkit, if you will, is so important for us to be able to deliver to these communities. And again, with ECD staff, the RITA's staff, the TVA, the development districts. If all of us are aware of this, have input into the process, it will be delivered, it will be utilized. So you can see our milestones there, things that we want to do on a time schedule. And again, I think it's so important to put time frames to things so that they get accomplished. Let me talk briefly about the funding for site development. Competition is fierce, it's global, it happens every single day. And again, if you're doing any kind of recruiting work, you know how dynamic and how competitive it is. We feel like continuing with the PEP program, which is great. It depoliticizes the process. It demystifies the process of finding good property, getting the community prepared, giving them options on which ones would be the best to develop. So kudos and thank you so much for implementing that program. We need to continue to take steps with that. And you did that with the Invest Prep and helping to prepare for job creation in that way. We've got to help the communities find more product, if you will. Yes, buildings are important, but they need, first and foremost, you need that property. Here, again, we're focused on job creation. The advisory committee will continue to support what ECD is doing and the other entities. We just are looking to provide resources to increase the number of jobs that can potentially come to those regions. So the metrics, I'm ahead of metrics there to increase the grant funding. I know it's almost like a Captain Obvious statement. We need more money, but they do. The competition is fierce. The competition is allowing for funding to be given away, land to be given away, and they're providing those resources. And if we want to continue to compete, we've got to do the same thing. So we'll be asking that we expand the funding for the site development, expand the funding for property evaluation. I think we're ahead of the game in so many ways because we're already doing that in a lot of states. Regions are not. With that, I'll turn it over. Hopefully I stayed within time. Thank you.
I get to finish this up. My name is Brian Huddleston. I'm president of the Nashville Technology Council. We're promoting technology here in Tennessee and hope to have a unique way to be able to grow our rural markets. One other plug, I grew up in Henry County, so I know this market really well. We've worked a lot with the White House, the local areas. There's just a great big, huge talent shortage, estimated to be 1.4 million people in the U.S. In 5 years. Here in Tennessee, that number, in Nashville, it's around 2,000. So these are employers who would who would hire someone if they were trained for a technology position. These have worked in other areas. There's currently one up and running down in Linden, Tennessee, where there are 25 technology workers there who are doing help desk, programming, software development for major corporations. And to Tokes' point, we'd like to see this be one of the proposals. Right now in Tennessee, there are 56,000 technology jobs. To give you an idea of what that looks, in Nashville, that number is 26,000. If you compare that with just, let's say, a community like Austin, Texas. Austin has 109,000 technology positions just in Austin. So if you compare what we're doing with the entire state, we don't match up to a city that's sometimes compared to either Nashville or Memphis. And the goal there would be to increase the number of tech jobs in the great state of Tennessee to 100,000 by 2025. This needs to happen with work from employers, educating a workforce, involvement in communities and businesses. My organization, along with economic development and a rural community in Paris, Henry County, it can be a pilot for this almost immediately. The metrics of this, number of employees that are in those positions inside of with a tech designation, number of employers that are investing in the tech hub in a rural community, and the number of tech hubs. So after a pilot is done, how do we have 5, 6, 10 that are spread throughout the state? resources, funding for education. The most important part is to get the sustainability factor of this, which is get an incentive for companies to put that job in a rural community and not either outside of the state or in another country such as India for an outsourcing perspective. And then how do we market this program so that more people go into the education to be able to get the right education to be able to fill the jobs? And the milestones there are hitting the metrics of putting one up in place, getting the individuals, getting the right people in education spots, and then the companies to make this sustainable long term. And with that, that is the idea for the Rural Tech Hub, and we hope that you guys consider that. Brooksy, do I turn this over to you? All right.